Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, I'm your host. Today we talk football as we usually do, and we want to talk about some strong personalities or qualities of people in football. Does that affect the game or not? Let me take time to introduce the panel. Alvin Henderson is right to my left. Welcome to the set, Alvin.
Thanks again for being here, Steve.
Anthony Clark is big old Anthony. Welcome to the set, bud.
Thank you for making this my second appearance.
I see you guys change your clothes. That's very good. And the next is Narada Wilson. Welcome to the set,
Always
Narada.
a pleasure to be here, Steve. Always.
All right, viewers, we want to talk about some strong personalities, and does that affect the game or affect the quality of the team or the performance of the team or whatever? And I would throw that out there for the panel. You guys think strong personalities make a difference in a negative way or a positive way?
Both.
Okay, tell me what. Tell the viewers why you think.
Bill Clark, you started off. You have your ideas flowing already.
The football is a game that needs personality. You have flair on the field, that's personality. You can have a player that is, right, there will be some players that will be better than other players. That's personality. To let that one aspect of personality get out of control could become negative. If that player's personality is adding to the team's performance positively, then it's a positive aspect of it. But that one player could think that he's too big. That one player could think that when everybody is in camp, I could leave camp. That will make it negative. So personality is an aspect of all sports. You must have that personality. Me as a goalkeeper, I had personality because I had to ensure that, listen, I cannot fear you as a striker. You have to have some fear of me, of hearing my footsteps, of me coming for that ball. You must know that I'm not going to stop. So therefore, during the game, I would be talking to players. Don't come 50-50 with me, just letting you know. That's part of the personality of the game, to have a positive impact on the game for my team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that, Steve, throughout the course of looking at football for the 50-odd years that I've been playing and involved in playing and looking at football, I look back at the people who are leaders of their teams to see what qualities they may have had, and bring it to Trinidad and Tobago as well, close to home, to see what qualities we should put for people who need to be leaders of the team in a positive way. Mm-hmm. And I agree with Clarky, it can affect you negatively as well. But the leaders lead, first of all, some leaders lead by talking a lot and organizing a lot, but they are silent leaders as well. Mm-hmm. And I'll just put in an example of that. I thought that Selwyn Moraine was not really a talkative leader for the most part. He was a silent leader, but he had what most leaders must have, presence. If you have presence, and your presence walking into a room, presence on the field, people saw that you were the personality who is the leader of this team. Or you may have been a person like the leader from Manchester United, Roy Keane, who was, by example, somebody who never gave up, vigorous in tackle, not a great, extraordinarily great player, but a fighter and a determined person who was always there for his team. Or you might have had a Beckenbauer, another soft-spoken leader who wasn't a leader generally by a lot of controversy and speaking out and whatnot, but he was a leader by example. And those are the things that I feel are qualities, some of the qualities that make you a leader. But most of all, if you're going to be a positive leader for your team, your fellow players must have respect for you. And that respect is earned. You cannot designate it. Administrators and coaches cannot designate it. It's earned, and it's earned. Each player respects you because of the respect you give to them, and subsequently they give it back to you.
What I think I look for in a leader, or what I think I've realized is a quality or an attribute, is how they react in negative situations. Why I say that, because a lot of times we see guys who are very skillful or even have the presence, and we wonder how come he isn't the captain or something like that. And I realize that most captains, what it is that if a player is at 50%, usually football, you know, because it's a passionate sport, it's a lot of emotions. So when guys on the negative side of a game, they may, you know, throw tantrums in different ways, go out and speak, be boisterous, cry, you know, start to sulk, not play too well. Because everybody reacts positively in a positive situation. So when we win, we all are happy. When we lose, you know, the captain usually is that person that may not necessarily go down to 0. All the other players may go down, but he stays at 50. So what we're looking at is someone who's at 50, and when we win, we all go up. But when we lose, he remains at 50. It's somebody that could handle the negative side of, you know, sport. The result isn't bad. He's the guy that you're sure chances are his game was not going to drop. He's able to still try and motivate the players to play and not necessarily end up having a bad game because of a bad result. So I think somebody that is emotionally stable is a quality that I look for in leadership. And I think it should be something looked at.
You guys always do such a good job in not I shouldn't say dancing around the question, but I would say being neutral, sitting on the fence. I want you to tell me now, then I will put a question for the panel. What type of personality you like? Is it you like, what kind of personality you like as a leader on your team, whether it's maybe the guys who score the goals or the guys who, the captain or the defender, whoever, but what kind of personalities you like to see?
The personalities and performance, or personalities and attitude. You see, there's a difference. I like a very strong leader, meaning that performance-wise, he has the best knowledge of the game. Well, right, maybe not the best, but a very good knowledge of the game and leads by example, tough, pushing the team, that type of thing. You see, the question is an open question.
No. All right, let me narrow it down then. I'm not talking about performance in the sense. I'm talking about somebody who could disrupt your team, or they could make a team play better. It could be performance, like you said, but without saying it. But somebody who has that magic to make you have a good day or a bad day.
I think because what I would say, if I have to discredit all factors that involve, I would go with I like the player who is at who we consider to be the star player of the team. Whoever is playing at the highest level at that point in time, I would say I would like that. I prefer that person to be the captain. You know, that is not taken into consideration.
But are we speaking about the captain or just a leader, right?
Just not a captain. I think the leader of the team, for me, has to be the guy who is at the highest level. You know, that is if I don't have the fact.
I think I was a leader on most national teams
because of
that I played for.
You talk?
Not only talk, but I was a performer. I never wanted to lose. I was angry when we lost. I trained harder when we lost. I pulled everybody up because we lost, but I wasn't the captain.
Right.
All right? The captain, I think the captain at some times, right, was glad that, you know what, Clarkie's saying it.
But why didn't they make you captain, Clarkie? Because you had all the qualities that a captain should have.
I think they as well were a bit scared of the amount of control I had in terms of with the players. I brought them together. I mean, at one point in time, the players didn't like a particular coach, and I put together a petition to say that the players want that coach removed. Right? The captain didn't do it. All right? I think they realized that I had that ability to either to motivate the players whichever way, right, was required. But I always thought it was the best interest of the team and the country. Right? It was never destructive in terms of, it was never destructive in any way, form, or fashion. Some people always felt that because I was very outspoken, they would have deemed that disrespectful. But I never disrespected anybody. I never cursed anybody. I just gave a very strong point of view, as I do right within this panel right here. I argue my point of view. So, but the older heads at that point, and me being 15 years old, and they being in their 40s, 50s, found that this little boy should not be telling us, or we should be telling them what to do.
Right.
So I think I was a leader.
Because
Alvin,
of being outspoken.
yes, but also by performance.
You see, one of the things that I see happening with leaders, especially of our national teams these days, the leaders are becoming almost like union leaders. You know, it's because they could get something for the players, and they become I almost call them shop stewards, and they're not leaders who are really respected by everybody, not only the players, because you as a leader on a football team and as a captain on a football team should be respected not only by the players that you do
in the
on the
football
team,
community,
but everybody in that football community, administrators as well as the players and the fans. And you could go on to any team, and you can choose that leader from that team if he has the kind of qualities that lead always to the discipline of that team being maintained no matter what the circumstances you are in. Because the leader is a disciplined person, and others, if you want to be a member of this team, I am going to lead by example. And I always feel by example, and especially if that example is the best that could be seen, if you don't know what to do, follow your leader by example.
You guys dragging me down the
gutter.
trail.
You want to go down the gutter.
You're dragging me down the trail of captaincy, right? So I don't want to go there yet, but you're dragging me down there. So what type of personality you want as a captain? And then we will talk about some of the better captains you've been with. But let's talk about personality. What type of personality would you like to see a captain be?
Well, as
one
I said,
boisterous or one by example, like you said?
No, I honestly feel that the boisterous captain is, to me, a nuisance captain. I don't want to hear too many words from my captain. My captain will give you a quiet word here and there. But the boisterous one bawling in your ears all the time, I certainly didn't want that.
That don't motivate you?
That doesn't motivate me. But a captain who is his own performance is consistent, and you could see that it's a disciplined, a determined performance. That is the captain I want, because that is the person that I feel, like the general, I will follow into battle. That is the person, and somebody who is willing to stand up for what he feels is right on and off the field.
I will add to what Alvin said, because I think my captain and my leader has to have varying qualities, because not everybody is motivated in the same way, form, or fashion. There will be some players that you cannot shout at to motivate them. So you must be able to analyze that and say, look, Alvin, I need you to buck up. But there's somebody else that, you know that the only way that Steve going to move is by saying, hey, Steve, what, right, what are you doing? And so different players are motivated in different ways. You go to talk to Steve, oh God, come on now. Steve not going to take you on, right? So the captain must have varying aspects of his personality. He must be able to analyze each of his players, including administration, not just his players, but being able, right, to know how to deal with the manager, how to deal with the president, how to deal with this one. He must be able to be multifaceted in his approach.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think it goes back to my point. For me, if we go in with the captain, even with the president national team, there are some players that I like because I believe on the field, they give that 100, you know they have your back, and as soon as the game is finished, they're back down to being somebody that is not going to gloat too much. They're very conservative. I think that leadership quality, I think that is what I always like for a captain, somebody that understands on the field of play, this is what we do. I have your back, supporting everybody 100. And after, they don't need to carry it on off the pitch. You know, it's great to celebrate or, you know, suffer, but their transition is flawless right after the game. And I think that is what I look for in a captain. And we've had it over the years, I think, in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, sometimes you look at the guy and you wonder why, but I think that sort of leadership is necessary as captains.
Well, I'll throw in a little, you know,
A little caveat.
wrench in the spanner in the wheel here. Why wasn't Latapi ever made captain of Trinidad and Tobago? He was, like you, the best player on the field. His performance was outstanding. He was a leader in Trinidad and Tobago football, and he galvanized everybody who he played with, and he also made people play better who played with him. Why wasn't he made captain?
Who did he play under as captain?
Quite a
Maybe they had a better person under him as captain. Who was his captain?
In terms, and that is what I was going to
Dwight York?
go at. No, Dwight was. You had a more a mature person, writer Clayton Morris.
Right.
So although Russell Latapi was a good performer on the team, the varying aspects that I just spoke about was seen more in a Clayton Morris than a Russell Latapi.
Right.
So Clayton did perform. He didn't perform as good as Russell. He wasn't he was seen as a very good player. He was also a leader in the community, but he could have dealt with the situation from president coming straight down to a youth footballer. I think Russell faltered in some of those areas in terms of the full spectrum of being a captain, being able to go out there and, well, not in this aspect where he could have spoken to the media, but in terms of being able to negotiate at a level with the president. I think he was able to negotiate personally, but in terms of see the bigger picture and have a team and a holistic view of the things, I think he faltered in some of those areas. At that time.
Not because of knowledge, but just from on the outside, I always assumed it may have been because of some of his off-the-field antics. And I'm just wondering if, you know, Doc, I know is a little more privy to some reasons, but I just was wondering, that is what I always thought may have been some of the reasons, that maybe his association with some of the off-the-field negatives, if we have to call it that, stereotypes or whatever, probably affected so that players on the team don't have a reason to say, but he did it, or how come he could do and I can't? You know, I always thought maybe that is what
I wouldn't call it off-the-field negatives. I would just say that he faltered in some of the areas in the spectrum that is required for that individual to be captain. I think that is one of the areas that I faltered as well in terms of not being captain, Alvin. I think I was that one that could have been deemed as you know, being a little too aggressive right at times, especially with the administration, because I always knew that football was not my end goal. So therefore, I saw a lot of players that were less fortunate than me that wanted to make football their lifestyle. That was not my objective.
Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we will pick up where we left off. Viewers, we'll be right back after this short break.
We are inspired. We are practiced. We learn. We have challenges. We are supported. We persevere. And we shine. This is our commitment to you.
Tony brought up, there was another personality, a very strong personality in Clayton Morris, who had all the qualities on and off the field to be a captain. Russell was perhaps, as we all knew, he was a leader on the field, but some of the qualities of interacting with the administrators and coaches and being the disciplined player to follow off the field, some of those things were perhaps missing in his personality at the time when we saw him in Trinidad and Tobago football. And perhaps that's the reason why he was never made a Trinidad captain.
So let's talk about some of the Trinidad captains then. That we've seen and
yeah, well, as I said, I will start as being one of the older players here. I will start by saying that when I first started watching football on a regular basis, Pat Gomez, goalkeeper, was the captain. And as I said, we've spoken on other forums why I don't think goalkeepers should be captain. I had that discussion with Lincoln Phillips, who was my captain when we played professionally in the States, and I didn't think that goalkeepers should be captain. Pat Gomez led into another captain of longevity, Sedley Joseph, who was both captain of his club and for Trinidad and Tobago for a very long time, and was one of the outstanding captains. And then he led into another captain who, by his presence, was an outstanding captain, Selwyn Murrin. We've talked about him on many occasions. And Selwyn Murrin stayed there for a long period of time, up until the era when, in '73, you all went to Haiti, and he had a lot to do in Haiti, allowing the team to continue playing at a high level, despite the fact that your team had great difficulty in an early loss to Haiti that wasn't warranted because of the referees' indiscretions that went on at the time. Other than that, after that era, Trinidad changed captains quite a bit. And we had Russell Teixeira, an ex-schoolmate of mine, Leon Carpet, a good friend of mine, and Selwyn Figaro, all having stints being captain of the team for Trinidad and Tobago. All strong personalities, but sometimes not as with the leadership qualities that some of the others had.
right. But Teixeira wasn't a strong personality though.
He was a quiet personality
quiet
in
assassin?
his own way,
Yeah.
a quiet assassin. In the business community, he was well respected and was a respected leader in the business community, despite his quiet personality.
And after the 70s, we went into
The early 80s.
the early
we just
80s.
went in and
And
said
who were
that
those guys?
Renald George was in the early 80s, and Clarkie perhaps could fill in the captains of the later 80s when he started to come on.
I would start with captains from right when I was on the 16-yard, right, the Marvin Fostins. He was, I think he was made captain because of his discipline and field discipline. He was also one of the fittest players on the team as well. So he was a player that you could have followed by example. He was also a very quiet personality. So although Marvin was captain, you had, I was one of the leaders. You had, obviously, Russell was one of the leaders on the team. And you also had Todd Willis was also, right, one of the leaders, right, on the team. So, I mean, we aided Marvin, right, with that. I mean, moving on to the national team, we had a very good captain who then had a long stint of captain, Clayton Morris. Clayton had all the qualities required to be a captain. A captain needs to be able to deal with the politics of the administration, to be able to talk to the coach, to be able to motivate the players in different aspects. Because not every player is motivated in the same way, form, or fashion. So the captain must know the personalities of the players that he has, and he had all those qualities that made a perfect captain. Even today, I was not in the ice age of Alvin and Steve David, but Clayton Morris was my perfect captain.
That's funny, man. Yeah, go ahead.
Clayton Morris was, I looked up, although I was one of the leaders of the team, I looked up to Clayton Morris as the captain.
Okay, so you up to Clayton Morris, and I guess, Narada, you would know the younger captains.
Yeah, the younger ones in the 2000s. That's why I wanted the 90s
the ones
to
that
have
we never
a-
had.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Like the 90s era, I'm trying to remember, I know there are a lot of strong personalities, and I'm trying to see if we could kind of put together the captains just for my, understanding. I know, you had the likes of strong players who I grew up looking at the Arnold Dwariker, you had the Angus, even these guys who were not captains, but just in the sense that they were players that for very long periods of time we were hearing the name, we liked them, they scored the goals, the Russell Latapi, and they. So if you could just fill in the 90s for me.
Well, Tony Roger was,
correct.
Anthony Roger was captain for a while. And in the 90s, because of his problems in Lebanon, the very strong captain
Right, David Nackett.
was David Nackett.
Correct,
When David
correct. That is
Nackett
the
came
guy.
back,
Yeah.
he galvanized a young Trinidad and Tobago team without the services of York and Latapi, and we won two Caribbean Caribbean championships.
Correct.
With playing outstanding football.
Correct.
And Nackett was definitely.
I think that is my
he
start
was
from
definitely
Nackett.
the
Yeah,
leader
he
of
was
that
the-
team at the time. And it was a shame, actually, that he left so soon. And he could have perhaps stayed on for a little while as captain and actually gave up the captaincy when I thought that he should have held on to it.
Yeah. And then, in the more recent, we had the Kenwyn Jones and the Jean Michael Williams, which for me that's after the World Cup time, I think they are strong personalities. The reality for me, I think John Michael Williams is captain material. He is that type of player that could sit down and speak with, the different entities involved in football. He has had a long career. He's in the back, as I guess, again, it's
But
what
again,
Alvin is saying.
He's a goalkeeper.
He's a goalkeeper. But Kenwyn Jones is a leader because of the presence. He is that player that when he walks into the room, a lot of the younger guys, they look up to him. He was the guy that was playing in the EPL and again.
And that is the only reason.
And again, he's a forward.
He's a forward.
We don't
right?
like to be captain.
And for me, that is why I was always, because I agree with Doc as well, I always thought that Highland was the guy I would choose because I played against him. And he's that sort of player that, yes, he was playing outside, so he had the respect. He is the guy that gives 100% on the field. He goes in very strong with the tackles. He knows how to motivate the guys. But amongst a lot of guys who tend to have a lot of little incidents off the field, he's that one guy that he's very solid on the ground. Knowing the personality, he doesn't get too carried away with the conversations if they go a particular direction, and he's able to kind of motivate guys without having to shout. But he does his part. He would go into the tackles. He will destroy what he has to do. But he's not going to put that pressure on you. He'd rather clean up the mess. And I think ideally he should be or maybe one of the captains of the future. But as I said, Kenwyn Jones is the personality. He has the support of Jean Michael, at the point in time Johanse Marshall, who are all St. Anthony's guys, who they do well, and Abu Bakr as well is one of those guys that when they walk into the room, people tend to listen to them. But I'm watching that we have not been able to have a captain for 3-4 years consecutively in the later 2000 eras, but it's because around the team, we don't have guys with the 5 needed qualities for a captain. We have them with 2 and 3, and we keep trying to shuffle them around.
You didn't mention Sheldon Batu.
Batu, yes, who has been the captain. Yes, I think Batu, I think the team believed in Batu. Batu has always had a personality that is very grounded, maybe because of this family support that he has. Good player, but I think from the time he went abroad, and he showed that he's now on an international level where he's now getting all the let me put it, the goods of football, and he still seems to be grounded. He's that type of player that the Molinos and, the Peltiers, even the Jovian Jones, they have a respect for him. He always would come into the room and he would tell them, hey, let's don't get carried away with the media and what they're saying. We have to focus on our mission. And I think so far the coaches have seen Batu being that type of player. Tall figure, he comes into the room, his presence is felt. He's very much a family-oriented guy. And I think he knows how to speak at the both levels, adding, as you all said, with the leadership. So I think for the future, Sheldon Batu. But my only concern was that I just need him to be a little more solid in the teams that he's playing with abroad, because we attribute leadership or captaincy in this country to the success that they achieve outside. And I think he needs to have a little more of that, because that is what is happening now. That's what we're looking for. Once he could solidify playing outside for the next 5 to 6 years, he may be the captain that would hold the position for quite some time.
With every team that, as you say, the captain is important, of course, but they always come a leader.
Yeah.
And the captain knows when to shut up when the leader is getting the attention,
Yeah.
and so on and so on. So, I mean, I look back at the 73 squad, and I can see Gally, who was the leader.
The leader.
And then it has Archie with a strong personality. It has Sellers with another strong personality. But we knew the captain is who the captain was. We knew
Selwyn Murray.
Selwyn Moran was the captain. And then when Gally he spoke with some authority that he was kind of the on the field leader, the coach on the field kind of. So, and I know. And I hope that you guys can identify some of these leaders with the captains that you guys talk about. Is there any?
I think one of the problems I think Trinidad and Tobago has had recently is that we have not had consistently high performances from a number of the players. So a captain should be somebody who you can close your eye blind and put his name first on the list. Like Mike Maurice. Mike Maurice was the captain of Trinidad and Tobago. We didn't mention him as a former captain. Because he's on the team, he's the first man on the list. There are a number of players now, you put them on the list once, and then you realize, should I make him captain? Because I don't know if the next game I want to play him. I might want to play someone else. And we've had so many chopping and changing of players because players are not commanding a position on the field.
And they're not consistent.
Yeah, they're not consistent. And that is one of the problems with selecting a captain in Trinidad and Tobago.
That is a good point.
It is.
The captain has to be on the field all the time.
Yes, yeah. You wouldn't like to be taken and then taking off your captain every minute and handing the armband to someone else. There are a number of players who can't play 90 minutes.
Right.
You know, they're good for 60 minutes, they're good for 70 minutes, and then they hand over. All right, that's all well and good, handing over the armband. But you would like the influence of your captain at a crucial time when the game is tight to be on the field of play. I remember recently in the Gold Cup when Stephen Hart took his captain to the Gold Cup. Who was his captain in the Gold Cup when he went in 2013?
Not
Anybody
Kenwin?
know? Huh?
Kenwin was the captain, no?
No,
First time.
Jamaica Williams.
No.
In the Gold Cup? I don't know. Tell us.
From Caledonia, ex-Caledonia.
Dennis Theobald.
Denzel
Theobald.
Correct. That correct.
And Stephen and I had a discussion about this. Denzel Theobald went to the tournament as captain.
Correct.
And in the crucial match where we got knocked out of the tournament, the captain was sitting
On the bench.
not injured on the bench, not able to come on in your last 15 minutes because you did not have the confidence in him or otherwise. We don't know. All we could say is, how come your captain is on the bench, crucial time in the Mexico match where we got knocked out, where's the captain? Where the captain was needed at that time to galvanize the forces because we were in a crucial situation. We were 0-0 with Mexico up until I think the 73rd or 74th minute. Correct. Captain needs to be there. We were even 1-0 down where we could have pulled it back, and your captain was sitting on the bench. The captain that you chose for the tournament was sitting on the bench. So we've had coaches I know, and I know Steve Mart probably had great difficulty then in choosing a captain because of the same problems that we have now. Inconsistent performances by the players on the team.
Right, and not only inconsistent performances. We went in the 2000 era of choosing captains that were internationally recognized, not necessarily the best personality or had the qualities to be captain. I think that was one of the reasons why, because Kenwin Jones was made captain, it was difficult to drop him because he was made the captain. I personally did not like the right, most of Kenwin's performances in his latter year, especially in this last World Cup campaign. And I didn't think that he led the team by performance or otherwise as a captain. In my era, Clayton Morris was obviously the best personality and the best person to be captain. He had all the qualities to be captain. Some of the leaders, as Steve addressed, I think the leader of the team at that time was Michael Morris. So Michael Morris was the leader, right, of the team. If I go right before the senior team, where you had Arvin Foston as the captain, I think there were some other personalities there that were leaders, right, of the team as well. Going into the late 90s, where you had, who was the captain? You had Anthony Rozier as the captain. You had many. He had a very difficult time as captain because he had to deal with the Dwight Yorks, he had to deal with the Russell Atterpees, he had to deal with so many people who thought that he had to deal with the Leon St. Louis's, he had to deal with so many personalities that thought that they knew, or because of their achievements internationally, that they were better than Anthony Rozier. But Anthony Rozier was the perfect personality to be captain. Yeah. Right? And but there is a difference between a captain and a lead and leaders of the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, I'll let you pick up where we left off. Viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
We are inspired. We are practiced. We learn. We have challenges. We are supported. We persevere. And we shine. This is our commitment to you.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Ada, you was about to say something.
Yeah. I just like, looking at the longevity, but in my era, the captains, we saw in the 2000s, we saw the likes of John Michael, who, again, is a goalkeeper and not, something that approves it. But I guess Clarky does.
He doesn't, but I have a problem with
And then we have Kenwin Jones, who for a long period of time as well, but again, is a striker. But I think it's the presence of those guys. I think John Michael, more than Kenwin Jones, is a bit more diplomatic. He could deal with guys at the top and at the bottom. He rallies the players together. But Kenwin Jones has the presence. He's a very tall player. He's achieved a lot in the EPL. So it was always something to look up to. I think in even our era, because of the players being the age of 25, 26, 27, he is that player that we saw playing here and at a young age went abroad. And, more in the 2000s was that player that we were recognizing. Then you have the likes of Sheldon Batu, who is a very strong personality, family-oriented, is playing his trade internationally right now. One of those players that holds the ground and has a consistent game most of the times. I think maybe we might say 1 or 2 games we might have said that Sheldon didn't look as the Sheldon that we're accustomed to. Other than that, I do think Kaleem Highland, he's played a part every now and then. He's one of the leaders on the field, very positive role model. One of those guys that even growing up in the community, where he could have gone different directions, he has showed that he understands what being a positive influence is, and he takes that mantle on his back, 100% on the field. But then we have the other personalities who, they're leaders, Joevin Jones, Molino, but have not been able to carry on that as a captain because of the fact of some of the off-the-field inconsistencies. And I think that always kind of tarnishes persons to have that role as a captain. But leadership, we would have to stay with, the John Michael and the Sheldon Batu for the future.
Okay, well, we have talked about David Nackett as one of our captains, and Alvin, you said he was a good captain, and I thought he was a disruptive captain.
No, I never thought David was disruptive. In fact, at the time of his captaincy, he was actually a plus for Trinidad and Tobago because he galvanized a young Trinidad and Tobago squad to 2 Caribbean championships without the help of Dwight York and Latapi at the time. David has his problems sometimes with dealing with people off the field, and I had said it before, he's akin to Anthony Clark sometimes because of their strong opinions, which sometimes I feel should be injected with a little diplomacy. That if David had a little more diplomacy in the way he spoke to some of the coaches and administrators, he'll probably have go a long way in football. He still has a lot to offer to football, in my opinion, in the Caribbean and the CONCACAF region. But that's part of his personality, and who am I to change his personality?
Steve, I have no problem with David. And I have no problem with David because we have to understand the situation at the time. The situation at the time, David was playing internationally. He was well taken care of with his and he was also very well educated. You have to understand that we had an administration, and even in my time, that were enriching themselves. You could have seen their wealth growing and so on. And we have full stadiums, 25,000 people come to see football. Nobody comes to see anybody in the administration. They come to see the players. And right in that era, players were not even compensated for their travel costs. So you have a full stadium, all the money going in the pockets of the administration, and the players are not being rewarded for anything at all. So we fought for, and I agree with Doc, at that time, young, I had my own career. I didn't need football for anything, form or fashion. In fact, I could have afforded to play for free. I was already in the energy sector. I was really already in a supervisory position in the energy sector, and football was still just a hobby for me. But for other players, it was their dream of becoming an international player, a dream of providing for their families, and the administration at that time was just, you could have seen growth there with everybody there. And so we fought for real issues. We fought for real issues which were issues that the smaller man could not have fought for because he would have been replaced on the team. And he didn't want to speak out because if he was replaced, that was his opportunity there gone awry. So yes, I think I have grown. From being involved in politics, from being involved in different aspects of politics. I was a chairman of a state enterprise, and I've grown in diplomacy as Dr. Henderson has said. But at that time, you're young, you're energetic, you're seeing people taken advantage of, and you just had to speak out about it. And that was the era where the administration was do as I say, and you just go and play. If you don't play, you'll get dropped. So it was a difficult time to be quiet.
I understand. It is important to be a captain or to have a good captain, but just as much as it's important for a good captain, you always have leaders that coexist with these captains. Sure. And I know for a fact in the Haiti squad, the 73 squad, Gali came in as the leader, and we had other strong personalities as Archie and Sellers, of course, but so I think the captain depends on a leader as well, don't you?
Yes, leaders can assist a captain on a team, and right now, especially, you're seeing a trend abroad in foreign clubs where there's actually a player's strength in numbers, and players can bring down captains, they can bring down coaches, they can bring down teams, because players have that strength now that never existed before. and the players seem now to be stronger than the coaches of a team, and sometimes the presidents of those teams and administrators. So it's very difficult if there are many negative leaders on a team. And that is one of the things that you have to wipe out if you are a coach, in my opinion. If there's negativity on your team, you have to identify it and pluck it out immediately, because it spreads like a cancer and it can destroy your team in no time flat. I would like to say that I am not of the view of putting a disruptive person to be my captain. And that's why I didn't think David Nakid was disruptive. But if a disruptive person, someone who has been disciplined and has not yet, in my opinion, showed me behavior to correct what that disciplinary problem is, I would never put him as captain. I know Trinidad coaches have done that in the past, and I would say that that is something I would never do. And I feel that if a person has been disciplined or is showing ill discipline in my team, he must show me a different path before he comes anywhere close to the captaincy, even though he may be a leader on that team.
Agreed.
Let me put you guys on the spot. If, with all the captains that we talked about, who do you think is the best captain that we had, and why?
That has to be split into different eras, Steve.
No, one captain.
Well, I cannot.
Well, you tell me who you think yours
Well,
is. That's all.
because of my era and who I was exposed to.
Okay.
Correct.
The best captain for me was Clayton Morris.
Okay. Why?
Clayton had all the attributes of a good human being. He performed excellently on the field. He was the #1 name to start. His performance was consistent for his entire career. He was very diplomatic. He understood the varying ways to motivate different players. If he wanted to speak very sternly to you, although he was a quiet person, he knew that he could have come to me and speak sternly to me. But in terms of speaking to a different player, a Larry Joseph, he would communicate with Larry in a different manner, and that will motivate Larry. So he understood his players, he understood the administration, he knew how to communicate with the administration and deal with the political aspects of things. He understood, he had a very good relationship with the coach and the coaching staff, and he had an excellent relationship with his players. On top of that, his performance was always consistent throughout his career.
You know, and if I didn't know that he was talking about Clayton Morris, I would have said that he's talking about the person who I feel is the captain of the last 50 or 60 years. I feel that Sedley Joseph has all those qualities, and I saw Sedley Joseph as being someone who has similar qualities to Clayton Morris. I would probably, because of the era difference, just say that Sedley edged him out. The other thing that I would say is that if you have somebody into their 70s and 80s and the people around him are still calling him skipper,
Correct.
and the three people who they still do that to are Sedley Joseph, Selwyn Morin, and
Clayton
Morris. Those three personalities, I think, were the three best captains that I've seen over the years, and that personality and respect has been maintained over decades, and it continues to be maintained for the younger ones. And I'm saying of the qualities that Clarky spoke about, that commanding presence on the field of play is what I think perhaps gave Sedley Joseph just the edge over Clayton Morris and perhaps Selwyn becoming not too long after him, after such a long period of time as captain.
Well, for me, I don't think I was going to mention, personally, growing up, I really enjoyed when we were, we had the experience of Dwight York being a captain simply because, it was that player that we grew up seeing on television. And I think the time he came into the World Cup as the captain, it was a good feeling, You know, amongst the team, they were good players, and I think they all had the respect for him at that time, and he did what he had to do. But meeting some of the guys over the years, the Reginald George, having the pleasure of also Clayton Morris and Sedley Joseph in the latter stages. I agree, I can't fight. I think Sedley probably pips the guy simply because those guys, somehow the personality I met later on in their lives seemed to be the same attributes and personalities they had back then. Very quiet, diplomatic guys who seem to have done all on the field of play, but yet still find some way to not change into becoming this hostile, angry person because of the results of football or whatever. These were guys who would, you know, you could talk to them quite freely. And I think from what I've seen and I've heard also, I think Sedley Joseph may be the guy overall that, you know, Clayton Morris and I, good friends, you know, but I think just the humble individual of Sedley Joseph, I really believe he may have been that captain of captains sort of person.
Right. And you guys right. I've heard a lot. I never played under Sedley. I played under Selwyn Moran.
Selwyn Moran.
Who I thought was an excellent captain. But I heard so much about Sedley, and then I saw Sedley, and I understand Sedley's personality, and I played against him in the later stages of his career. And I thought, you know, what I heard and what I saw playing against in his later career, I thought he was special. Right. But it's still hard to separate him and Selwyn. But if I had to, then I would give it to Sedley, only because of what I heard so much about him. But they both were good to me. And Clayton, of course, after hearing Clarkie convincingly
he is.
Sharing all the good lights on him.
He has to be up there.
I don't know much about him either. Yeah. But I'm sure there is the naked who is disruptive and other people who people might say that was good captains at all. All right. I kept one thing for you guys for the last, and you guys didn't realize that. And I was hoping that we had balloons and stuff to drop when I say this, but there is none. So you guys don't realize this is our 100th episode of Field of Dreams. All right?
Congratulations, Field of Dreams.
And we got to congratulate Field of Dreams for that, right? And we need to look back at when we first started in a little dark little room and to what we are now, and it's been great. So I mean, I'll let you guys comment on anything.
Well, Steve, we've been talking about leaders and captains on this show, and I think for the Field of Dreams group, you have certainly been a leader to get us to this 100th episode. This show, to me, has been one of the foremost shows of where there's a logical, organized way that we can speak about football in Trinidad and Tobago. And all members of the society have been invited. And I have to congratulate you and the group, the fellas behind the cameras, who maybe one day you might show. You know, maybe they can have their own show, the fellas behind the cameras. But as we are speaking about leaders today and captains, I have to thank you for being the captain that you have been in this program and for educating the Trinidad public and educating me, because no one is too old to learn about the game, and I have learned a lot just coming here and sitting down and talking about football.
Steve, I would like to congratulate Field of Dreams, and as Alvin said, you have been our captain. I think what differs Field of Dreams from every other commentary program is that we look for solutions. We indicate what the issues have been. We have already looked for the solutions, and or we articulate our right solutions. And I did not realize how many viewers Field of Dreams had. I have been approached on many occasions and indicated that, you know, hey, I like your comments. I don't agree with your comments. I mean, I had the president of the association come to me. So you have the air of the key people. I have had the national coach come to me and address some of the comments that I have made, and basically gave me a different view on what I thought was right. Well, right, what was my view? He saw it fit to say, look, because we have a relationship, it's not that we don't have a relationship. We have a relationship, we are friends. And the national coach, it means that he looks at the program to hear my view. So I think that is admirable in terms of the viewership that we have, the quality of viewership that we have at all spectrums. And I want to congratulate Field of Dreams, and I think and encourage you to continue right, the struggle on the program. And I would also say, you know, to the sponsors out there to come forward and help Field of Dreams right, remain on air.
Well, for me, first I'd like to thank the backroom staff, you know, television station, everybody for giving the opportunity for Field of Dreams. But Steve, to be quite honest, I started on episode 1, and here I am on episode 100. You know, it's been a program that I believe we take things from yesteryear, even today, you document it, and now we have it for the next million years, and probably would make another 100 episodes. I started knowing of the names, the personalities, meeting Steve David, and then getting to meet everybody else in football. And sometimes I go out and I am the young boy who knows from the 50s to the todays of football, and I've met all the sporting personalities, players, you know, everybody involved in football, the stakeholders. I can't go out too freely anymore because now people say, hey, I saw you yesterday or whatever, so that is always a plus. But it has really been a pleasure of mine working with the program. Steve, you know, very knowledgeable, and I'm just really happy because I have a thing about making it known. For us to know where we're going, we need to know our past, and this is a program that is documented. It's up on, you know, the pages, the channels, and we are able to now see this for the rest of the future. So making 100 years, I'm wishing for another 100, and thanks very much for giving Trinidad and Tobago this opportunity.
Okay, well, the sentiment echoes all around because thank you guys. I mean, without you guys, it could not have happened. It could not have worked. And just to accept the invitation to come and help for nothing, you're giving back. And that's all Field of Dreams is trying to do, is to give back to the community and to the country and to whatever we can in whatever way we can. And I appreciate you guys so much. I want to thank you guys fully for giving us the support in Field of Dreams. I also want to thank ACTN for giving us the opportunity. I want to thank George Madison for all his dedication and efforts to make this happen. I want to thank you, the viewers, for coming on board and looking at us every Monday night from 8 to 9 p.m. on ACTN. And also, when you miss it, you tune in on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock and look at us. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. We do have a Facebook page. You can also drop us check us out on the Facebook and say whatever you have to say. We do have an email address where you can drop us a line, fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. The show's ended. Go in peace. I see you next Monday night at 1:01. Good night.